Oh yeah, baby. Fresh fucking chemtrails. Let's get it. Alright, today I'm going to talk about what I created called the Suicide Prism. So I'm going to pop this up on the screen again, and then do what I did on the last video. And this is probably how the pattern I'm going to do this. Uploading my thought models just about every week. You know, whenever the creativity feels natural and I create something that I want to share to y'all. So like, don't think when I'm not uploading it's because I'm like, fuck this channel. It's literally just because it's like, I ain't got nothing good enough to present to y'all. I see my channel as like show and tell, so I'd be excited whenever I got new shit to show. So I will show it. Best believe that. So I call this the Suicide Prism. This is supposed to be my ultimate solution for people wanting to kill themselves. That's like what was the thought behind it when I first created it. So I'm showing up on the screen right now. And basically, suicide boils down to pain, truth, and then that prisms out into you have, you are, and you can. So let's dive deep into this shit. I'm feeling like fucking Infinite Waters. I love that channel, man. Oh yeah, if y'all wondering like what like spiritual networks I'd be on sometimes, Infinite Waters, Teal Swan, Modern Spirituality. I found out about him recently. He's really fucking cool. Santos Bonacci, he does astrotheology. That's what taught me about the whole like the sine wave that is like how time has been progressing and what. It's really fucking cool. Please look at it. Also with health, I like the 12 cells. Another video. All right. But okay. So so how y'all want to do this? Y'all want to do this like as above or so below? Like both are the same. So let's do as above. And this is so as above for this model is going to be like the zoomed out perspective of how the suicide prism actually works. And so below is going to be a zoomed in perspective. It's going to be more personal. So when I go to so below, it's personal. When I do as above, it's generalized. So okay, as above we go, we see that pain is just a resentment to memory. I really like calling it that because that's really all pain is. Whenever it happens at first, not necessarily does it hurt, and I mean more emotional pain, or really all types of pain, because all pain stems from how you're about to perceive it when it happens. And that's why everyone has like different pain and shock tolerances. Like I have a really high shock tolerance. It's kind of really hard. Like my pain to me feels pretty dull. And that's because I'm always like, I was always numb. Pain really is just a resentment to memory because your awareness of the pattern of how you've been mistreated over time, you start seeing how it keeps stacking up and it just feels like bullshit. So you just hate it. So then you acknowledge this aspect and wow, you're reaching the truth because you're tackling one side of it. It's a wall. Truth itself is going to be the wall. The acknowledgement of the wall is how you see things for what it is, which is the difference without separation, the two sides of one coin. Truth is going to be the thing that actually stays the same throughout this entire prism and model that I'm going to be explaining. So a resentment to memory is like that aspect that pulls at you the most, the emotional aspect. And then we see some truth that comes in to why you have a resentment to memory, and that's where it prisms out, and we see what the fuck exactly created that resentment to memory. So the you have, you are, and you can of this. There's three aspects to every truth, okay? And that's the Trinity. The Trinity is your awareness of duality. That's all it is. You are alone in the knowing that you understand everything, and that's why I call it the unity principle. Because what you already have is a measure of the universe. And this is also like the Kabbalah, the science of the collective unconscious. So, and think about that for a second, because you really are alone in the knowing that you understand everything. You know, that the idea that you think you know everything in itself is an extremely personal thing. You can't convince anybody externally that you know everything. They can only guess or infer that from the way you've already been behaving. So the patterns that you've established. Or you just want this neglected aspect of yourself to be seen and healed in some way. Or at least for it to be fucking acknowledged as real. That's why it adds to this resentment of memory. You can give what's yours and own everything at the same time. And that's why I call it the personality paradox. Because my identity is both inflated and non-refundable. This is the law of correspondence, the nature of the self-asserting ego. So let's think about that aspect. You can give what's yours and own everything at the same time. What does that mean? Well, I wrote this shit a while ago, so I gotta think with this shit with you. I don't know everything. You can give what's yours and own everything at the same time. Well, yeah, it's your personality. Because you will always have an unlimited supply of like who you are. You'll never run out of that. That's the thing that's like infinitely in abundance. But what creates the scarcity is when you lock up on that aspect of yourself, the lower self, the cerebellum, bottom part of your brain, the reptilian aspect. The part that knows it's a personality, but refuses to share that aspect with everybody because the little bit it has drip fed to people, it's been judged. But no, that's not actually the problem. It's the fact that you've been trying to drip feed the authenticity you already exude. That's the problem. People see that shit as fake when you're already pulling back part of yourself. Because it already implies, well, what the fuck are you scared of showing if you're already trying to show it to me in this fake one-sided way that I easily see? So that's why this is like the nature of the self-asserting ego. Because the ego is the part that is basically the exclusive DLC for like being incarnated in the third dimension. The ego doesn't come with you when you're going through all these lifetimes, which in our lifetime, the age of Aquarius, our millennial family and all that, we're all escaping this reincarnation cycle. So don't worry about all that bullshit. But the reason why I call it the self-asserting ego is because literally the ego technically doesn't exist on the long scheme of things. The fact that it has to assert or dogmatically say, hey, I'm here, I exist, it means it don't fucking exist. Like, why does it need to dictate? Why does it need to prove itself if it already is? And so that's where you get the understanding that the ego actually is an illusion. But illusion does not mean fake or unreal. Illusion just means it's a projection of something that is not being tackled from the inside out. Seeing things from within, the Christ within. The Christ is within you. You have a drive that's easily dismissed. My camera's about to die. You have a drive that's easily dismissed and you rush to find the outside reason for your focus on it. Oh yeah, see, that's why I call it the labyrinth illusion, because I literally imagined it as the labyrinth. Normally when you think of a labyrinth when you're in it, it's normally in darkness, right? But most of the time when you're seeing it, you start at the center and you're kind of making your way out because you're trying to escape the labyrinth, that being your mind. So basically, you're not really lost. We create our own sense of directionlessness because we think that the direction we're going, regardless of where we're going, is the wrong direction. Because there's so many options. But there is no wrong direction. The fact that you're taking a direction is the right direction. Because you're moving. You're still moving. That's the importance of this. And that's why it's a rat race. Everyone's trying to compete with each other. Like, what the fuck is the point of that? When ultimately, it's the individual that matters. It's the individual that contributes to the collective. And the collective is what creates the subconscious change. Because we all have to acknowledge internally the things that are unconscious to us. So I know that sounds like a mouthful, but basically, the shit that you kind of silently acknowledge about yourself, like a flaw that you don't really see in yourself, but you see in yourself, if you know what I mean, that being your focus or the direction is exactly what gets you out of this fucking labyrinth. Because normally what we do in life is we'll have a flaw or something that we perceive throughout our life. That has been a pattern, right? We see it as like, this is the shit we have to escape from. We have to get away from the center of. And we get distracted by everything throughout life. We like, well, okay, I'll tackle this. See, I can tell you this from personal experience because I'm doing personal research right now. If you looked at my last video, I'm talking about your conscious progress. I'm in the fifth dimensional state, so my conscious research and progress for developing right now is into the anima and animus. But I read only two sites about the anima animus, had a good idea off of it, made that model that was in the last video, and then I stopped researching in the present moment because I was like, okay, I can make a video about this now. I would consider that like a distraction. Distraction doesn't have to be good or bad because I created a video. I actually got to publish something to other people that I think will help. So it's the whole labyrinth thing. I can't be caught up in these illusions of being like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't upload a video because first I should like really dive deep into this personal growth. But it's like, why am I saying it like I can't grow from teaching other people what I'm learning myself? I'm not trying to teach shit in no concrete way where it's like, oh, okay, I understand this. It's concrete. It's all said and done. Now I'm going to teach it. That's what fucked me up in the past with YouTube because I was thinking I had to make sure it was unprovable or I had to make sure it was undisputable to other people in my head before I felt like it was okay to share it. But no, I am completely comfortable and confident now with sharing my current progress because the only thing I'm confident about is the present moment. Thus the existence of this video as well. So, you know, we have a core drive which is based on the flaw we've been ignoring And because it's easily dismissed by the world around us, so like you talk to your parents about it and they kind of don't give a fuck. Like they can't really acknowledge it because there's a shame in them that they don't want to acknowledge. So they're not really a source of help in that aspect. Or with friends, where it's like y'all are all kind of in the same boat, because it's kind of how law of attraction works. So like when you're talking to them, framing it like you want a solution or an answer from them, and you're not getting that answer, you start getting frustrated, because it's like, what the fuck, you niggas can't even help me either, and I've been helping y'all all the time. But it's like, no, you shouldn't even be seeing it like that, because we're all in the same boat as a collective. Like, this is the collective unconscious you're trying to tackle. And that's why what's amazing about this and what unifies all of us, the fact that we're trying to all tackle the shit that is part of humanity, is what's gonna like pull us all together and have a societal change on the outside. But we have to do that internal work first. And I hated hearing that shit too on all the spiritual videos I'd watch. You have to do the internal work first. The internal work first. Because it was like, wait, you saying I can't like do my shit and work on the internal work? And see, I think that's where I don't agree with. I think you can do both. And what you have to do is not see it as two different things going outwards. You have to look at what the fuck is in the middle. So how you can compromise. You have to find the compromise in doing your healing work with actively making progress in the physical world. So for me, that's my emotional healing and understanding the value and the practicality of speaking truth constructively, instead of just speaking truth for the sake of, hey, this is information somebody should know, and then coming off as like a fucking preacher or being very romantic, which there's nothing wrong with that, which is why I utilize it in a different way. I use that aspect in music I create. So check that out on my SoundCloud. I'm Deadwood. But, you know, that's like the middle path. The middle path is finding that I don't gotta like live this ascetic life to transform, and I also don't have to live this materialistic life to have just a collection of experiences that mean nothing. You can have both. You can actively live your life and have a core teaching based off of the flaw that you've been running away from all your life. And that's what I was doing. My core thing is based on communication. The issues with communication I had when I was younger, where I could never communicate the issues I had, and so I bottled it up, and it was like, yep, only the core of myself, the persona, the ego, the protective aspect of myself, only I experienced that. And that was the illusion. Because no, this is something collectively I've always seen with people. I've always been empathic. I always feel other people's pain, and the problem was with the lack of boundaries, I would take their pain or their emotional suffering as my own responsibility. And it's not my fucking responsibility. It's my responsibility to acknowledge those things and be empathetic and sympathetic to their current progress. Because we're all going on different paths, but they all converging in the same direction. And that's all that matters. And so that should be able to unify us instead of separating us. We shouldn't have to be feeding into the establishments that already exist for the sole purpose of divide and conquer. Just because they exist doesn't mean we have to really care about it. We're the people powering that shit. They just put it out. So that's what I love about it. These niggas, nobody has power except us. And see how that sounds like a paradox? Like, that's a mantra right there. Nobody has power except us. I love that. Because it's the whole 99% against the 1%. It's not no against. This isn't a fight. We all still the same fucking people. The universe is mental and the cause is subconscious. By consciously addressing what is unconscious to you, you tap into the subconscious, which is the only way to manifest anything in reality. If you have hundreds of people doing that, as a result of either watching my videos or whatever they're doing in their personal path to get to there, the world's going to change. That's the natural sequence of things. That's why with astrologically, where we have the sun, and not a lot of people know this, but like the sun has a brother, or a sister, I guess, which is Sirius, which is a blue sun, essentially. And they converge in its own beautiful pattern, which looks like two ovals converging. And when they're furthest away, astrologically, that's when we're in a dark age. When they're the closest together, we're in a golden age. Right now, in the current moment, we're getting close to another golden age. And we're going to experience that golden age in our lifetime. So, when you see things like the poles splitting in the present moment, and then the earthquake that happened after the super blood moon, and then, you know, the events of the government shutdown, and all the things that's going on right now. We are in present, current moment history. So observe that, but that's where you keep it at. Just observe it. Observe it, acknowledge it, have discussions about it. That's pretty much where it ends, though. Because it still starts with you, your heart. your core. And so by developing that as a result of living life, aka exploring your vulnerabilities with curiosity, and having a way to express that in a teachable manner, not because you're teaching, but because you have something to say, the world grows. The world inherently benefits. That's how you contribute to society. And there's no easier way than in this age of Aquarius, where we have information everywhere, where you can use social media, have your phone just record something. Hey, this is what I had today. Like, this was the experience I had today. I want to hear about that shit. Like, there's a lot of people who want to hear about this shit. This is pretty much the age of personal branding. People can make livings off just talking about the experiences they've had, because everyone is unique. But we're all the same. You see how that shit like works? It's our emotions that confines us and combines us. And that's the beauty of it. Because this universe is subconscious. It only can absorb and receive. So let's look at that shit. I think it's pretty important. But alright. I think I'm going to put that towards the end of the video. But, okay. So, now, let's go to the So Below.
What a bummer, man, my car ain't broke down. So I sat right down and project right on my crown. Got on up and flew around the whole town. The demons died, they couldn't fuck with my sound. Vibrate into a whole new dimension. Talk the thoughts because I made the intention. Walk the walls because I went through ascension. Flew up here because I crawled through the ditches. As above, below, reality flipping. Red or blue pill, took the purple and lifted. In and out, that my Merkaba was glitching. Pimp my soul, this shit a new exhibition. Left and right inside the mind just be mixing. Chakras open, feel my whole body glisten. Out the matrix, nigga, I had to risk it. Multi-dimensional, nigga. Multi-dimensional, nigga, cause I see the visual. I do not need no clairvoyance.